Okay, so this one is very important because I'm going to explain the difference between a creative empath and an empath while explaining what a creative empath is in comparison to an empath, because the term creative empath is a term that I created. It is a coin of phrase that I use to describe somebody who is of a whole different class of human to an empath. So obviously, over the course of my lifetime of studying the paranormal and the supernatural, I started doing card readings when I was 16. My sister was my first teacher. She taught me how to read and doing readings using normal playing cards, which I started doing for a job to make money in New Zealand when I was like 24, 25 ish. So then that's when I started wanting to know more about why I could do what I do. And, long story short, it brought me here to the UK, and I ended up becoming an occult scientist. Being in the UK basically raised me. The United Kingdom created all that I am, because literally from the minute I landed in the UK, I became steeped in history and had my first time jumping experience at, oh gosh, I can't remember, Kenilworth Castle. Was it Kenilworth Castle? I think it was Kenilworth Castle. I got taken there the day I arrived in the country and had just the freakiest experience. So then, because I became immersed in it all, living here in the UK and going to like the Colosseum in Rome, and going to France and the Sacre-Cœur, and going to America and all of that, like it molded and shaped everything that I became as an occult scientist. So I am the first of my kind. There is nobody that has turned the ascension process into a science, because nobody's tried to understand it. And for those people that have tried to understand it, they've gotten it so wrong that it's almost dangerous, because then people dabble in the occult and the esoteric, using terms and practices that are actually detrimental to the evolutionary developmental stage of their soul's journey as the person that they are in this life, that it can have karmic effects in the next. So I'm here to, as a high priestess especially, to help teach people to get it right in this life, so that they don't have to suffer the consequences for it in the next by getting anything wrong and being led down the wrong path by the wrong people in this life, or by the wrong habits or mindset in this life. You will pay for it in the next. So, with that being said, what is an empath? Everybody knows what an empath is. Everybody claims to be an empath. Empaths are incredible people. They are selfless people. They're people who dedicate their lives to the wellness of others, who are exceptionally sensitive to the energy around them. They'll walk into a room, they will automatically know if something's gone wrong, if something's happened, if there's negative people in the room, like they will feel their energy and absorb it and reflect it back. That's an empath. A creative empath, see, an empath will be, an empath is a victim to a narcissist. They are like candy to a narcissist. Narcissists feed off empaths. Um, don't take my kindness for weakness, sort of thing. Because an empath is very, soft and sensitive and gentle and caring and wanting to help the world. You see a lot of tarot readers who are empathic, who just want to make people happy and please them, And you see a lot of nurses and teachers and that when they first start out, they're very empathic. They care about what they do and they care about who they're doing it for, to the point where they will, carry the burdens, carry the weight of the world on their shoulders for the benefit of other people. And they do it without complaint. They do it without asking for anything in return, really, other than respect, which is why they are the victims of narcissistic abuse and energy vampires and that, because they see their kindness as weakness and something to exploit. A creative empath, on the other hand, isn't just a victim to a narcissist, they're a victim to society. Empaths are more widely accepted in the world, in society, because they will take on jobs as carers, as people who provide a service where they are helping people and caring for them, whether it's physically, mentally, or spiritually. Whereas a creative empath is the complete opposite. They are isolated, they are withdrawn, they are introverted people, unless they're around the right people. They are not the sort of people that throw themselves out around social media and things like that because they don't like attention being drawn to them. They just want to sit in their little bubble and create, because they are victims of circumstance and they are victims of societal abuse. They are the ones, unlike the empaths, who will be diagnosed with unfair diagnoses like psychosis, autism, ADHD, bipolar, that sort of thing, where they don't deserve it. Just because they aren't like everybody else, they are considered to be abnormal, when in actual fact, they are, how do I explain this? They're so far beyond the realms of normal that to the normal, they are far out. They are an enigma. They are something that medicine doesn't understand. They are something that society doesn't understand. They are something that science doesn't understand until I came along, because they do not exist in the same realms of what is considered normal. But it has to be that way because of what they are moulding and shaping in the background. And because there is a pattern with a creative empath, all creative empaths will come from a childhood of abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse. Like, all creative empaths have come from a childhood of some form of abuse or exploitation, because, like your childhood actors, like your Gary Coles, your Judy Garlands, the ones with the real talent, as children were exploited as children to the point where, they suffered addictions young, they died young, they were exploited to the point of, dying earlier than they should have. They were treated badly by society, victimised, like your Nikola Tesla's. I mean, he was run down by a car so they could steal his invention for the energy weapon, which is the whole Donald Trump thing, which he failed miserably, paying off his karmic debts for his uncle, and that he failed miserably. So now he's suffering the consequences of failing to pay off ancestral karmic debt. Creative empaths don't just absorb energy and reflect it back like an empath does. They live the energy like they're experiencing it themselves. They suffer on levels where the pain that they witness or the injustice that they witness, they feel it like it's happened to them. Everybody who knows me, who knows that I'm, see, you get two types of creative empaths as well. You get the ones who are the big softies like me, who only call on my masculine energy when I have to protect or defend or, any kind of injustice, and that's when I bring in my Taurus twin, who was my masculine side. Everybody has a feminine and a masculine in their star sign. So like, excuse me, so like if you're a Libra, Libra will be your soft feminine side and your masculine side will be your Aries. So if you're an Aries, then your feminine side will be Aries and your masculine side will be Libra. And you will flip and switch depending on what you need it for, whether it's to nurture and grow something as your feminine side, or protect and defend as your masculine side. So, you know, when I have to switch into my, you know, my justice, my defense and protect, I go into my bull. I switch to my bull. I've become very indignant, very stubborn, you know, very immovable. I'm an immovable object when it comes to protecting and defending that which I love, or when I see any kind of injustice. That's when I become an immovable object, because I flip to my Taurus side. So the two types of creative empaths are the ones who are so traumatized by childhood woundings that they put up a wall and they give nothing away. They will not let anyone into their personal space who hasn't absolutely proven themselves beyond a shadow of a doubt that they can be trusted and that they are loyal. Once they've proven that, then that creative empath will let their guard down and show you their softer side, because you have then earned their trust. Then there are the ones who are big softies. The gentle giant. Oh, look, I'm called a gentle giant. Even when I was locked up, see, my ex-husband tried to say that I was a knife-wielding maniac, running around the house threatening to kill myself with a knife in front of my children, who even back then were still bigger and stronger than me. That had that have been true, they would have just knocked me out. They would have taken me out. They would have just tackled me to the ground and just taken me out. That's how ridiculous that claim was, but everybody believed them, even though I had evidence to prove on video that it was all a lie. At the time, he claimed I was barricaded, crying, committing suicide, wanting to commit suicide, barricaded in the boys' bedroom. I was videotaping myself while doing housework in there around the house, explaining how my ex-husband had just put cocaine in my pizza, and I was recording the evidence. Okay, so even when I was locked up, my community care nurse, Tracy, every time the doctors kept trying to bring up, even though Judge Campbell had said she 100% believed that it was my son that brought the weapons in to that room that night in order to protect and defend us, even though the judge said she believed that it was my son who brought the weapons, and the doctors kept saying, why did you bring a weapon, and why did you do what? And I'm like, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And then it got to the point where the nurses were starting to stick up for me with the doctors, and every time they would say, you know, do you get angry easy? Are you a violent person? Tracy would jump in and go, no, oh God, no, and she'd say, I'm sorry, Debbie, I don't mean to speak on your behalf, but no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and let you, you know, accuse her of being violent and aggressive, because I've spent X amount of weeks with her, and no, that's just that, no, I'm sorry, that's not Debbie, that's not who she is. So even they knew that, like, I'm not an aggressive, violent person. So you get the big softy that everybody will then try and take for granted and steal from, and all that sort of thing. The creative empaths are always stolen from. They will, because they're the innovators and the molders and shapers of the world around them for the world to come. People will always see them as being easy targets to exploit and steal from, or exploit and ruin the reputation of. Like, for example, Vladimir Putin. He hides his genius. He hides, I see it. I see his soft side. I know his soft side. I know that man like the back of my hand. I don't care what anyone says. But I know who he is. And I know that when it comes to his country and children and the people of Ukraine, and that he Ukraine to him is like his child, Russia's child. He's trying to protect his children. He's trying to protect the children. But he can't give anything away because he's Vladimir Putin and he was in the KGB, and he, sort of thing. This big, scary, tough man. But I'm like, oh, all I see is a little teddy bear. I call him Vladimir Pooty Bear. Because I swear to God, he's a poet. He's definitely a philosopher. And I see a side of him as a creative empath because I read people like a book that nobody else even knows is there, but I see it. But he has to put up that wall. He's had a very, very, very hard life. He had a horrible childhood, and so he's had to put up that wall in order to protect himself. That was his defense mechanism. And it served him well because he later became president, and with 46 assassination attempts on his life, and with everybody accusing him of doing everything, because narcissists and psychopaths will always accuse you of the things that they're guilty of themselves. So when people point the finger and say he's this and he's that, it's actually them, because they're mirroring. They're trying to put onto him what they are projecting, and he's put the wall up to reflect it back to say, you're not putting that on me. I'm not taking that. That's not mine. And so he's protecting and defending himself by putting up that emotional wall. Whereas then you get the other kind of creative empaths like me, that's like, flowers in my hair, bare feet, big t-shirt on or flowing dress, dancing and skipping through meadows, singing to the birds and talking to the trees with butterflies landing on my head, and wild animals coming out to dance and prance around me while I talk about love and science and God and evolution and ascensions and all that, as like the hippy dippy scientist. So then people look at me and think, I can be like her. I'm going to steal her identity. I'm going to do what she does, and I'm going to steal her work. So then they try to, copy and mirror you. The trailblazers always get stolen from. They will always have their identity stolen. And I've made it perfectly clear on my social media. The reason why I share everything with everyone is to test who is honourable and who isn't. Those who are dishonourable always try to steal my identity or my work and claim it as their own, because they can't be me and they can't manufacture what I am. You can't fake being a creative empath, and you cannot fake an ascension, because ascensions will always show on your physical body, because the state of your mind, the health of your mind, always shows on your physical body. So, and it de-ages you as well. And everybody I know that's stolen from me look 100 years older than me, and I think most of them are actually younger than me. So, a creative empath people will always take advantage of them, always, but in ways where it's either to copy them or to be them. I can do that. Well, I can do that. I can do that better than her. I'm so much better at that than him. Look, I can do it. So they'll try and copy it or fake it, and it's impossible. So then we choose to keep ourselves isolated, because we don't just carry the baggage of the world on our shoulders. It's dumped upon us. We're forced to have to defend ourselves. We're forced to have to fight for our lives. We're forced to have to fight for our money. We're forced to have to defend our reputations, because creative empaths, unlike an empath, are chosen to ascend. And the test that you are put through, the test of Job, the Christ path, when you are chosen as a creative empath, remember the red eyes tell no lies. A lot of them, as children, will have had episodes where they've witnessed, seen things with red eyes and not realise it's because they've been earmarked to be something special when they grow up, to have special gifts that are going to mould and shape a world around them long after they're gone. They are very, very special, and a creative empath, unlike an empath, are exceptionally rare. Not everybody who is an artist is a creative empath. Not everybody who is a writer or a scientist is a creative empath. But the ones that are will be the ones that find cures, will be the ones that are trailblazers, the innovators. They are the first of their kind in their field of expertise. Even if it is something that millions and billions of other people do, they will be the first to do it differently or better, or in a way that is innovative and unique and trailblazing, that almost like pivots the way the world will then see that gift or that creation, or that invention or that book or that music, or and then they become the trailblazers. And because they are trailblazers, they then become victims of jealousy and envy and hate and greed and lust, and then they become the victims of abuse, which is why they learn from a very early age to keep themselves to themselves and just keep doing what they love. And that's the thing, if you are a creative empath, don't stop doing what you love just because other people don't like what you're doing. They are there to test you, to see how much you really truly believe in yourself and what it is you're producing. When you are a creative empath, unlike an empath, people, the devils and demons, will rise up because they are drawn to your light in a way that is almost suicidal for them. They will not stop until they have a piece of your light. They have to criticize, which means to tear strips of flesh. They have to try and strip you to the bone in order to take what you are for themselves, to make themselves feel better, because they know that they are inferior. And that inferiority complex will make them act out in ways like the doctors who locked me up could not stand the fact that I was getting women in that hospital off their medications and no longer needing sleeping tablets, because I was using my indigenous knowledge of putting plants together and reading the lines on their wrist and all that in order to explain where their trauma was coming from, and getting anorexics who hadn't eaten in years and years, who had been in and out of hospital for like 6-7 years, getting them eating again and putting on weight to the point where they were then allowed to see their children again. And the doctors did not like that, because I bruised their egos, because I'm an uneducated indigenous person. And so I was offensive to them. So they tried to punish me by forcing me to medicate and going into anaphylaxis, causing so much damage to my gut and stomach now that I can't even sit or stand for long periods, because gravity becomes too painful around my scars and that after they split open. And refusing me medical treatment, taking my phone, so everything they could do to punish me, because every time I had to go in for a session, I would undermine their authority by recorrecting their mistakes, and they did not like that. But I'm not going to be told that I'm something I know I'm not, and I'm not going to be accused of something I know I didn't do, especially because none of them did their job and looked at the evidence. The police didn't look at the evidence. They just took the crazy white man's word for it and just assumed. And they're going to pay for it in the courts, I can promise you that now. They're going to pay a lot of money out for what they did to me and my boys. They put my boys through trauma and abuse for no other reason than I bruised their egos, because I was catching cops out lying, who are now under investigation, by the way. It's hilarious. So yeah, you don't want to mess with a creative empath, because when they pass their ascension, they are handed the world in the palm of their hand. When a creative empath completes their ascension and they walk through that trial by fire, and they push off everything that was done to them and just focus on their gift and their ability and purpose in life, the result at the end is not only do they get supernatural powers at the end of it, but they become the kind of influencers and shapers of the world that will be remembered for millennia. Your Marcus Aurelius. What's the plural from Marcus Aurelius? Your Marcus Aurelius's, your Plato's, your Nikola Tesla's, your Albert Einstein's, and Albert Einstein, he wasn't just like an incredible mathematician and all that sort of thing, and doing physics and blah blah blah, but he was also very funny. He was a comedian, and creative empaths usually are very funny. I haven't met an unfunny creative empath because of the way their minds work. I love being around them because like you're able to feed off each other. Like when my boys and I are together, we just feed ideas into each other. We are constantly creating and coming up with new innovative things all the time because when you're around people like you're around master makers and not master manipulators. When you are a creative empath, you distance yourself from people who try to manipulate your life, the way you feel and the way you see yourself. Whereas when you're around master makers, all they do is raise you up and encourage you and support you. So a creative empath will have a very, very, very tiny, tiny social group of friends, one or two friends, and the rest will be like their children or siblings or whatever. I've got my sister and I've got my sons and I've got a couple of friends who I keep out of my life, out of my social life. I keep them away from everyone because nobody needs to know my business. Everyone knows my business for the purposes of my work because unfortunately everything that I've been through, I make it public in order to help other people that I know are going through it, because there were at least 3 women that I was locked up with who are classic creative empaths who are victims of the same thing that I was, doctors with bruised egos and a science that doesn't understand the way they work. And so I chose to make my life public, to make my story public in order to get people to understand my science. My ascension sciences and my occult sciences are, they go hand in hand, because you can't ascend without understanding the occult. And the occult is everything from the supernatural, the paranormal. Like I say, the paranormal is psychological and social behaviors. The response of psychological and social behavior, whereas the supernatural is theological and physics. It's theology and physics. It's what you believe in. It's your faith as well as physics. 2 completely different worlds. And the only way you can understand that, like I've said before, is to understand the mind and the way the brain works in conjunction with the mind, because it's all connected. The subconscious and the conscious is all connected to, the supernatural and the paranormal, depending on the weight of the frequency in and around your biomagnetic parameter, your physical parameter. Your biomagnetic parameter is your physical world, the world around you. What you bring into your body and what you put out from your body is all based on who you're around and what you're around. Where your feet go is your biorhythmic parameter, your biomagnetic parameter. Your biometric parameter is what you think and feel based on what you learn, what you see, what you know, what you understand, what you experience on a psychological level, on a conscious level. Your biorhythmic frequency is the 2 combined. What you experience, what you see, what you feel, what you know, who you're around and what you're around, all meshed and aligned and integrated into one frequency that explains who you are on an atomic level. To the deepest core of you is your biorhythmic frequency, and the resonance of that frequency, the strength of the resonance of the frequency inside the atom that is you, is all made up of who you're around, what you're around, where you're around it, what you think, what you feel, what you put out telepathically, what you put out energetically, what you dream. Like, it's all made up of what creates you. It's all what creates you. So a creative empath learns very early on to keep themselves to themselves, because it's just not worth the trouble. You're put in situations you don't ask for simply because other people in your life or other people around you cannot stand the fact that you shine brighter than they do. And when you've got all these influencers on social media and all these people desperate to be popular and famous and, have 50 million girls on their phone, or, a gajillion followers, or men chasing them, or people lusting after them, or wanting to be them or be like them, and, that sort of thing, a creative empath just wants to be left alone and doesn't want the attention. They're happy to just do the work and put it out there and let people deal with it, and then just go back to doing their work and keeping their friends and social circle very, very small and tight. You'll also find that a lot of creative empaths have childlike energy, because in the core of them, all they are innocent souls. And they're an innocence that is forced to be around and handle things that are so dark and negative and twisted because of what other people will involve them in, out of sheer jealousy, greed, hate, lust, whatever. They become victims of society, like I said, that it makes them distrusting of anything around them other than that which is pure and innocent. A creative empath won't trust anyone other than their pets, other than their kids. They prefer to be around children. They just want to sit and play with Lego. You'll find a lot of creative empaths will have a lot of toys and engage in a lot of childlike activity and behaviour. I've seen a lot of people, I collect all these sort of things and that's my form of autism. Well, no, it's not. You're a genius, and your one way of finding peace is to revert back to a childlike activity that makes you feel at peace and makes you feel safe and comfortable. You're not autistic. You're a genius. You have a mind that resonates on a higher frequency to everybody else. And when you're in a world that is constantly labeling you and putting you down and trying to get you into trouble and accusing you of things and stealing from you and destroying your reputation and all that sort of thing, sometimes the only way to cope with that is by reverting back to things that made you feel comfortable and safe and at peace as a child. So collecting toys or playing with Legos, or you see a lot of adults on social media. I saw one where it's like, what's your form of autism? My form of autism is I collect these Pokemon cards and do this and do that, or I collect these games, and it's not autism at all. They're geniuses. They're high functioning creative geniuses who find comfort in immersing themselves in childlike activities because it's their safe space, because of the fact that all creative empaths have the same pattern of abuse as children right through to adulthood. So so that's the difference. Whereas your empaths in that, I'll tell you, okay, how you know if you're an empath is, if you see these fail videos, like you'll see someone skateboarding and they'll fall and smack their head, or you'll see someone have an accident, or you'll see something and you get like you feel it in your gut. It's like a punch to the gut, and your body will go cold, and your hair might spike up a little, and you'll go oh, and you physically feel it in your gut, and like just for a brief second your body will go a bit fizzy, and you might get like a sensation of cold fizzy like throughout your body starting from your gut. That's empathy. That's the physical reaction of seeing something happen to someone where your body has physically created empathy for them. And because your body reacts to everything that the mind feels on an intuitive level. With empaths, when they see like that sudden, the person dropping and breaking their leg, or hitting their head, or smacking into each other or something, you it's a like a gut punch. um and then their body will go cold and fizzy from their gut, like out to the top of their head, through their back and all that. That's how you know you're empathic, because you feel it, you absorb it, you absorb that pain, you absorb the impact, and feel the empathy for it. Whereas someone who is sympathetic is like, when someone's died, I'm so sorry for your loss, and then you're like, God, I wish there's something I could do for them. I feel so bad for them. I know I'll take them like a casserole. That's sympathy, which is different to empathy. And an empath will hear the news of the death, and then want to hold the person and cry with them, and will mourn with them. Whereas like a creative empath feels it like they went through it themselves. They'll feel the pain like they physically went through it. If they witness someone banging their head and their nose starts bleeding, they'll get a headache. They'll feel it on their head, and they might even feel tempted to like check their head, or to see if their nose is bleeding. And then they'll get emotional, like they'll want to cry because it hurts. Why? But I don't understand why it hurts, sort of thing. Or um, like what happens with me is I won't be able to stop thinking about it for days and days and days and days. And everybody that knows me in my close circle knows there are some things you don't bring around me or talk around me, because it will affect me on a really deep emotional level. There are some movies that I have never, ever, ever, ever been allowed to. I have never seen Bambi. I was always told to avoid Bambi. Um, there are some movies that I've seen that I still like, Schindler's List and The Green Mile. I watched them once. I'll never ever be able to watch them again, because they traumatized me so much that when they first came out, the trauma was so great. I still get upset about them today. I still can't talk about them to this day, because it makes me so physically like emotional, because of the injustice, because of the suffering, because of the pain that I witnessed. It affects me like I was there, like it was personal to me. That's a creative empath. And then what happens is we turn what we witness into what it is we are creating. Um, Injured animals, like I can't be taken to a forest where there's been trees chopped down, because I feel the suffering of the trees. And if you're indigenous, the trees will talk, and um, ask why their ancestors, their family members, like why they don't understand why. And with animals, oh my God, like I still have nightmares about things that I witnessed as a child with animals, because they hurt so much that they left a psychological impact on me, that I still worry about. Did they feel pain? Did anybody take them in? Like, did they recover? Like that sort of thing. You feel it on such a deep personal level that it affects you your whole life. And so you have to protect yourself emotionally from certain things by just not being around them, because it's just not worth the suffering, because we feel it on such a deeper level. Because when you're in the creation frequency resides purely on love. and honesty and truth. And when you're around anything that is the opposite of love and honesty and truth, we feel it on a level where if you don't protect yourself, it will just drag you further and further and further and further down until you go into the underworld and have your dark nights of the soul and turn to things like drugs and alcohol and, reckless behavior and that, just to cover it up and mask what it is that you're feeling. When the only way that you can actually heal from it is to just let yourself feel it, to go through the motions of the pain and the suffering and that, which is why I always say, when you are going through dark nights of the soul, when you are going through your underworld stage and you're, you can't eat and you can't sleep and you can't think straight and you're demagnetizing from, the world around you that is drawing you down, do it around people that you trust. Go to people that you trust. Go to someone that you know has your best interests at heart and only wants what is best for you, because anybody else is not going to understand what you're going through and will even make it worse. Accusing you, finger pointing, talking about you, gossiping, attacking you, getting angry with you, not understanding that you're going through a death and rebirth process, that your soul is killing off a part of you that is no longer beneficial to your development. So it's killing off aspects of you and your life so that you can be reborn. It's burning old parts of you down so that new parts of you can grow. And the only way you're going to be able to do that healthily and safely is if you're able to do it around people that have your back, that have your best interests at heart. Unfortunately, all I had was my sons. I had no one else. There was, when I went through my underworld stage, when I started demagnetizing and getting rid of my students and all the people in my life who had failed the Judas test and were doing wrong by human nature and mankind and, all of that. When I started demagnetizing, it started breaking down the old parts of me, so that the new part of me could emerge. And the only people that I had around me that were protective and were able to do right by my growth were my two sons. Everybody else turned their backs. Everybody else made it worse. Everybody else then ganged up on me and, did what they did. So, and that's what happens with a creative empath. So, if you are a creative empath, know that what you are and who you are is something special and nothing to be ashamed of, and you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you are happy and you have peace in your life, walking away from your friends and family and your profession and all that, if you're happy just in your little bubble, doing what you're doing, knowing that what you're doing is going to make a difference, don't let anyone tell you that who you are and what you are is wrong. Just keep doing what you're doing, keep your head down and keep doing what you're doing. And let me guide you through it, because I'm an ascension master. So I know what you're going through and I know how to get you out of it. There is nothing you're going through that I won't be able to explain to you in a way that you won't understand it. Because it's my science, because I developed it, because I know this process better than anyone. Because there is no one out there that can explain it like I can, because they don't understand the world that you live in. And then I guarantee you that you're going to have children that are the same, at least one. I was lucky I got two. And I'm going to build my foundation and take those children that were like you, who were misunderstood and abused and, not respected for the gifts that they were as children. And I'm going to take them in my foundation and I'm going to turn them into butterflies a lot younger than they would if they were left up to society, who has no interest in nurturing the butterfly, only the moth. And the butterfly is the one who chases the sun, whereas the moth chases false light to their death. So, Moths take souls to the underworld, whereas butterflies take souls to heaven. That's how I explain it to children. So yeah, so you don't need to question who you are and why you are anymore, because I went through it. I created the science from it, and now I'm handing you the cheat codes. I'm basically, you don't have to do the homework anymore because I'm handing you the answers. You don't have to study anymore because I'm handing you the answers. So I've made your life a little easier. And when I build my foundations, by the time the children have grown up, they're going to understand who they are, and they'll have the confidence to shine in their little bubble, um, knowing exactly how to handle the world around them, because they're going to know what to expect. Because the problem is, it's all a bit of a shock when you're a child, when you are treated the way you are, and it doesn't stop when you're an adult. Or when I grow up, I can't wait to get out of here, get out of this town, get out of this family, blah blah blah. It doesn't stop. It follows you everywhere you go, because you are a victim of society. um, but I can show people how to toughen up and take it all on, and become warriors as a result, and turn their pain into power, which will then turn that power into profit. And all creative empaths who finish the ascension, because many are called, many are chosen. Was it many are called, few are chosen. um, you become so much more. Like, you'll become the first millionaire in your family, or the first whatever to win a Grammy, or the first in your town, or the famous person of your town, or you'll put your family's name on the map, you'll put your town on the map, like that kind of thing. You become the guru, you become the master. You make a name for yourself in history as the first, as the master, as the leader, as the one of a kind, as the chosen. And that's the difference between a creative empath and an empath. And I'm sorry that I'm stumbling over my words. It's just I'm tired, and I do this when I'm told to do it, and none of this is scripted. It's all stuff that I have been thinking about or writing about over the years, now being put into like podcast form, so to speak. And I'm tripping over my words because I'm tired, and I've got things to do in the next couple of days, and I'm just all over the place at the moment, because I'm fighting for justice. I'm pushing for justice to get my boys, to get my money and get out of here so that I can build this foundation. I'm just head down, focused on my foundation, regardless of what the Prime Minister is trying to do to get me deported, and all of that. So yeah, I make these podcasts intuitively. It's none of it's planned. So I can trip over my words a little. And now I'm thinking I need to light my candle because my lamp died, and I started using a candle for light in my room, and I just love it so much. I don't want to get a new lamp. So, but now it's getting dark, so I'm thinking I need to turn my little light on, and this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Okay, so I'm gonna go all over the place tonight, but I've been writing menus, and it's a long story, but yeah, just trust me, there's a reason why I'm all higgity-piggity. And the other thing, Mercury retrograde, you will find, even though, you can stumble over your words and, get all kerfuddled in that because of Mercury retrograde, and we've got the effects of the eclipse and all that, um, you will find after you finish your ascension, it's not as bad, and it might even go away because um, you're in alignment with the planets who feed your consciousness. So yeah. Anyway, I've got to go. I really do have to go. This was so much longer than I thought it was going to be, and I'm now going to be behind schedule for other things. So never mind. It is what it is. So I will speak to you later. Now you know who you are. Don't explain yourself to anyone. Embrace who you are. Love the skin you're in. Hold your head up high. I will speak to you later. And if you have any questions, just go to the comment section of my YouTube channel or like Instagram. I'll speak to you later. Hold your head up high. Ka kite anō. Mwah.